All right, so today, midterm part A, I guess we could call it the Wednesday test. Okay, we're going to want to make sure that we go over all the types of questions you're going to be seeing. So the very first type you're going to be seeing is just simplification problems. Okay, nothing extremely difficult. You're just going to try to get your terms and put them together and simplify as much as possible. So in this problem here, I do have to distribute, right? So I'm going to distribute here and there. So that's going to give me a negative 8x minus a 2 plus a 2x minus a 10. Okay, so negative 8x minus a 2 plus a 2x minus a 10. Now, combine your like terms. So my x's are like terms. So negative 8x plus 2x is negative 6x. And then the numbers are like terms. So negative 2 minus 10 is a negative 12. And this is what you should be expected to be able to do. Again, not difficult, just, it's supposed to be common knowledge by now, so hopefully it's not hard to do, okay? But they are expecting you guys to be able to do stuff like this. There probably is going to be more than one of these. So you know how I said there might be 18 problems, 20 problems, and I'm only doing like 13? Well, it's because I'm not doing another one. Like, this is good enough for you to know this type of problem I need to know how to do. Okay, so we'll move on. Here's one where we have to solve. Kind of the same thing. We're going to have like terms and things like that, but then eventually we have to solve for a variable. So again, I see a number in front of a parenthesis or some term in front of a parenthesis. Makes me want to distribute, right? So it's going to give me a negative 6x plus 12 equals to a negative 4x minus 12. I usually like moving the variable that's smallest. So negative 6 is smaller than negative 4. So I'm going to move the negative 6 over there. So that's going to leave me with a 12 equal to negative 4 plus 6. That's 2x minus 12. Now I'll move that minus 12 to the left side now. So I'm going to move this that way. So that gives me 24 is equal to 2x. And if I divide both sides by 2, I get that x is equal to 12. And that's it. So there's number 2. Again, you can see these aren't like terribly difficult. They're not supposed to be like make you sweat or anything. It's just you're trying to remember your basics, right? Remember everything that we've done from the very beginning. That's all been reviewed. Just as of late, we've been doing some new stuff, but most of this stuff has all been reviewed. So they're assuming that you guys can do this no problem. Okay. So number 3, we're solving an absolute value. Now remember, with absolute values, the rule is once you get the absolute value by itself, you have to break it up into 2 different equations. One of them will look kind of normal. The other one will be normal, but with the number at the end changing sign. So let me kind of get us to that point right now. So let's get that plus 3. Let's move it out of the way. So we're going to move it this way. I get absolute value of 3x minus 2 is equal to 10. Okay? So that's the first thing. 3x minus 2, that has to equal to 10. Now, after that, I have to, well, I notice my absolute value is all by itself, so I have to break it up into 2 problems, okay? So the first problem will be 3x minus 2 equals to 10. The other problem will be 3x minus 2 equal to, and I'm going to kind of change the color here on purpose, negative 10, okay? So that's the difference. When you're doing the absolute values, the second part is going to have to change, okay? So again, the thing in green is the only difference that you have to do. Notice I didn't have to change the equal sign like flipping it. Flipping an equal sign doesn't make any difference. But you do have to change the number 10 into a negative 10. Then you just solve both. So I'm going to add 2 here. So that gives me 3x equals to 12. And if I divide both sides by 3, I get that x is equal to 4. So that's one answer. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I'm going to add 2. So I get 3x is equal to negative 8. And then I'm going to divide by 3. And if you don't get a normal number, that's okay. Fractions exist, right? So there's my other answer. if on the test they don't want you to write like x equals 4 and x equals -8/3, but if they want you to choose one that's a grouping, it would look something like this. So it might look like -8/3 and 4, and they use brackets like this.
You have to do that.
You're supposed to do that. Have to, I guess not really, but if they're giving you multiple choices, they're probably going to write them out in set notation, meaning like these two numbers are the x values. So they'll probably write them out like that for you. Are we okay with example 3, or number 3 here? Bless you. All right, moving on. So this is just a solve. It's not a solving graph. We could graph it if we wanted to, but I think there's a problem coming up where they're going to make you do that stuff. But here's just solving, okay? We're solving with inequalities. So remember, guys, with inequalities, if you multiply or divide by negative numbers, you are going to have to flip signs, okay? So let's see. I'm going to subtract 10 on both sides, okay? I'm going to move the 10 over to that side, so I get -4x less than or equal to, and that's going to be a 20. Now, when I divide both sides by a -4, here I get x, and over here I'll get -5, but that inequality is going to have to flip. So let me just change using a different color. Right? I'm just trying to make it something that you guys notice, because when you guys go home today, if you're looking at this and you're wondering what happened and you see the different green on my notes, you'll be like, oh, let me write a little note here. Multiplying or dividing both sides by a negative number changes the symbols, right? Like you might want to write notes for yourself on this. Okay, I'm not writing everything for you because I don't have the time. Okay, but I am kind of saying it out loud right now, right? So right now, write about negatives changing sign, changing the inequality. Like put a little note for yourself. That way you can fix it up later. So we're done. We're done with this problem. We solved it. Okay. If they wanted you to graph it, which they didn't ask us, but if I had to graph it, it would look something like this. I'm going to do this the lazy way. I don't know if you guys remember me doing the lazy way here. You put your answer right here. Okay. Then what kind of dot is it going to be, solid or empty? Solid. This is a solid dot, and which direction does it go? Right. To the right side. Okay. So it would look something like that. Okay. We follow the arrow, right? The arrow is pointing to the right, like this. This is what I'm talking about. This is pointing to the right side. So since it's pointing to the right side, I'm going to keep going that way because my variable is on the left. It's on the, like, I guess you could call it the standard position, right? On the left side. So follow the arrow. If the x was on the other side, you go the opposite way, right? So we did a little bit extra there, but I'm just not sure when they ask you to do the graphs for these. So might as well just do one right now. Again, I call it the lazy way because I didn't fill it in with like a -4, -3, -2 on the right side, or a -6, -7, -8 on the left. So just a quick way to do it. All right. Now for these right here, it says solve these. Okay. So we can graph these too so we can see what they look like. I know it doesn't say to graph, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to practice doing that stuff as well. So let's start with the left side. I'm going to add 6. That gives me 2x less than 16. And then I'll divide everything by 2. So that gives me x is less than 8. Now remember, this is an OR problem. So if I had to graph it, okay, if I have to graph it, ORs should be going opposite directions, right? Ands go towards each other. Right here, we're going to subtract the 2 again. So 4x, about that, 4x is greater than -4. And then I'm going to divide everything by 4. So x is greater than -1. Now, if you're wondering, wait a minute, why did you switch the sign? Remember, I did divide a negative number, but I didn't divide by a negative number, okay? You can divide negatives. You can multiply negatives, no big deal. But dividing by negatives on both sides, that's what's going to flip that symbol, all right? So I'm done. This is my answer. X is less than 8 or x is greater than -1. So that could be an option that they're going to write for you, or maybe they might say, well, which picture is it, right? So your picture should look something like this. Now again, I'm going to do this the lazy way so we don't take too long. 8 is bigger than -1, so I'm going to put my -1 here and my 8 here, okay? Again, I'm doing this the lazy way. I'm not being perfect and exact and putting every little tick mark, etc. We just want to write down the information that we have to do. So, well, this is an interesting one. So this is going to be your answer, okay? I'm not liking my answers here. But if I were to draw this, okay, x less than 8 is going to look like this. And x greater than -1 is going to look like this. And the thing is, we didn't do one like this for homework, so you guys don't have to worry about this coming out on the test. But that's why they didn't say or graph, solve and graph, because graphing this is not something we did. If this is an or problem, not and they're going towards each other, your actual answer is everything. It's going to be the whole thing. But we didn't do anything like that, okay? So you guys don't have to worry about drawing this one. So this would have been a better thing if this would have said and, because then my answer would have been right here. Just between -1 and 8. Or problems that go towards each other basically means everything is an answer. The whole number line is a solution. But don't worry about the drawing. On your test, it's going to be what I put in a box. Okay? Which I don't think I put the other one in the box, did I? Oh, yeah, I did. But whatever I put in the box, that's what you're looking for. You're going to look for x less than 8 or x greater than -1. All right. Now, we're doing another one of these problems. Remember, this is an inequality with an absolute value. So remember, when it comes to absolute values, once we simplify the absolute value, we have to make a judgment call. Is it an and or is it an or? Okay. So let's do that right now. Let's move this -4 over. So I get 2 absolute value of 2y plus 1 is less than 12. Okay, and then I'm going to divide everything by 2. So if I divide this by 2, I divide this by 2, I get the absolute value of 2y plus 1 is less than 6. Okay, now that my absolute value is alone, I look at the inequality. The inequality is pointing at the absolute value. So is that an and or is that an or? And, okay? So remember that, okay? Write a little note to yourselves. Absolute value pointing at, the inequality pointing at the absolute value is an and. If it's pointing away, so if it looks something like this, that's an or. Okay? So this is or, and this can be and. Now, it can be less than, or equal to, it doesn't matter. Greater than, but towards is and, away, that's or. Okay, so again, write these little notes for yourself, right? Because you can see me doing it, but then you're going to wonder how the heck did he get the and portion of it, right? So anyway, we're going to have to rewrite this into 2 different parts. I'm going to have to erase that stuff I just wrote, but 2 parts, 2y plus 1 less than 6, and 2y plus 1 greater than -6. Remember, you change the number at the end, but you also have to change the inequality. Remember how I told you guys you're supposed to change the equal sign as well, but equal sign, when you flip it, looks just like an equal sign, so we don't really flip that, but we do flip the inequalities. So if I go ahead and start solving, I'll move this over. I get 2y is less than 5 right here. 6 minus 1 is 5. So y is less than 5 over 2. So that's one of them. Okay, and then this is an and, right? I forgot to write it right here, but and. And then over here we'll subtract by 1. So I get 2y is greater than -7. I'll divide by 2. So y is greater than -7 over 2. So it's this. This is our and. Let me try to fix These numbers are a little, whoops. Let me see if I can bring this down a bit. Let's see if I can bring this up a bit. Now, if you had to draw this as an and, you can. All right. Again, not that this is what they're asking us to do, but just in case they are going to ask you to do this, negative 7 over 2, 5 over 2. Let me put the negative sign there. I know negative is smaller because it's negative, right? The other one's positive. Y less than 5 over 2 goes this way. Y greater than negative 7 over 2 goes this way. So your answer is going to be from here to there. It's going to be what's in between. Okay, that. I know they didn't ask us to do that, but remember, just because they didn't ask it doesn't mean you don't need to know how, right? And I know they will ask us to do something like that eventually. I don't remember if it was here or lesson 2. Let me kind of check really quick. Finding slopes. Let me look on, this is tomorrow's. I could have swore I saw something with graphing at some point. Maybe I was wrong and it was the final, maybe it was the final exam I was looking at, but anyway, they could ask us to do this for sure. Okay, so please make sure you guys know how to graph on a number line in case they want you to do it on a number line. That's why I'm doing it right now, just in case, right? Just in case they do ask for it. Are we okay with the first 6? Anybody want me to go over anything from the first 6? All right, so, by the way, I don't promise you that today's going to be a 20-minute lesson. Today may be one of the longest ones I ever do, because I do want to cover everything you guys need, right? I don't want to stop short and be like, oh, well, I ran out of time, too bad for you, right? So, all right, find the slope, and what is the x-intercept, okay? So, we're going to try to find where it crosses the x-axis, and then we also want to find the slope. So to find the slope, when you're given a picture with dots, all you have to do is count, right? So I'm going to go from left to right. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, up, and 1, 2, 3, 4, over. So my slope, M, is 3 up, 4 over, 3/4. Okay, and then they ask me, what's my x-intercept? Where does it cross the x-axis? So if I look, it's right there. And I'm going to say at about 1.5. Or you could say 3 over 2, or you could say 1.5. It depends on what the option is, okay? If the option says 1.5, then you're going to do 1.5. If the option says 3 over 2, pick 3 over 2, or if it says 1.5, pick 1.5. But that would be my x-intercept. That's where it crosses the x-axis. So there's nothing to compute. You're using your eyes and picking the right one. All right. So there's that one. Let me go back to zoom 100% here. So yeah, so you just have to pick it based on what you see. If they asked you what the y-intercept is, then look at the y-axis and see where it crosses and give your best guess. So for me, that seems to be crossing like at negative 1 1/3 on the y-axis for the y-intercept. But I only said x-intercept because that's what I saw in the quiz. Okay, so. All right, find the slope. Now remember, the slope does have a formula, right? M equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'll write it down right now. But you do want to kind of, well, you don't have to, but I like to label, right? x1, y1, x2, y2. I'll write down the formula just to kind of give it to you guys. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And now it's up to you. Plug in the numbers right. You shouldn't mess up. okay? I mean, I guess you can. There's still chances, but you shouldn't really mess up. So y2 is negative 10 minus y1 is 4. Remember, I like to put a parenthesis around the second number. That's just my thing. You don't have to. I just want to make sure I don't mess up. And then x2, that's 6 minus x1, that's a negative 2. So a negative 10 minus 4 is a negative 14. 6 minus negative 2, that's actually a 6 plus 2. So m is equal to negative 14 over 8. And I reduce that by 2, I'll get 7 over 4. So m is equal to negative 7 over 4. And again, I'm only doing one of these, but they may make you do 2, 3 of these things, okay? So make sure that you guys practice these things, right? Just pick any 2 random points. You can pick anything you want. 1, 2, 4, 5. Let's see what you get. Okay? Just practice different things. But again, I did give you the equation, so you might want to write the equation down somewhere, right? I mean, I know it's already there, but maybe highlight it so you can say like, hey, this was the key. Like, this is how I do it. All right, going to number 9. I'm just checking. I think we go up to 11, ABC. So basically, that's 3. So we got 5 more. This one's supposed to be easy, right in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay? So they want me to write it in this form right here. In other words, solve for y. Okay? Solve for y. So I'm going to get this 4x and I'm going to kick it over to the other side. So I get negative 3y is equal to negative 4x plus 12. Okay, and then I'm going to divide everything by negative 3. So this by negative 3, this by negative 3, and this by negative 3. So y is equal to 4/3 x minus 4. And remember, from here you guys can graph, right? Your b value is negative 4, your m is 4/3, so you'll be able to graph this on a normal coordinate plane if you needed to, okay? But they're not asking us for that here. They just want me to solve for y. Again, I said it, I didn't write it, but now I am going to write it, right? Whenever they tell you write something in slope-intercept form, solve for y. That's what you're doing. Again, this is your notes. You write whatever you want, okay? But anything that kind of gets you to remember, like, oh, all you got to do is this. To do what they want, all you got to do is this, right? Give yourself hints. These are your notes. Okay. Number 10. Then we go to 11. Then we're done. So this one says write the inequality for the graph. Okay. So you can tell that the answer is negative 1 because that's where the dot is labeled, right? So I can see negative 1. Now I'm going to use x because this is a horizontal line. So I'll use x. Okay. And then there's a negative 1 because that's where the dot is, right? Your dots go wherever your answers are, right? But now I notice it goes to the right and the dot is empty. So what symbol do I put? Is it less than or equal to, greater than or equal to? Greater than, yeah. And that's it. I'm just having to translate what I see. So a very easy problem. And again, you have multiple choices. So you're going to be given 4 options. Pick which one the option is. Okay? But remember, where the dot is, that's your solution. So that number should be there. So if my dot was at 2, then there should be a 2 inside that box, not a negative 1. Okay? So wherever that dot is, whether it's open or closed, doesn't matter. That's your answer. That's your numerical portion of it. Since the line is going side to side, mathematicians like to use x because x is horizontal for us and y is vertical. Okay, so we normally like to just go to x, but it can be any letter. It can be m, it could be a, it could be y, whatever. On the test, if they use the letter t, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's just a letter. All right, so it doesn't matter what letter they use. So you're going to use a letter, you're going to use the number where the dot is, and then all you have to figure out is, okay, Well, it's going to the right, so let me make sure I use an inequality pointing to the right. And then it's empty, so let me make sure I don't put or equal to, because or equal to is solid dots, right? Empty dots, those just say greater than or less than. All right, now we're going to our last one here. And this right here, honestly, is the hardest part of day one, okay, of Wednesday. Writing equations. Now, sometimes they're very easy. Sometimes they're a little tougher. The last one for sure will be like the hardest one, okay? But you'll kind of see what you need to know how to do, okay? When they ask us to write an equation, usually they mean in terms of y equals mx plus b. So we are going to be writing it like this. Now, I know before I said solve for y, but notice there's no solving for y, right? I have to generate that. Now notice I already know what my slope is. My slope is 2, so I could already fill that in. But you guys always have to figure out what is my slope and what is my y-intercept. Okay? So I know my slope. I don't know my y-intercept. What else did they give me? They gave me m and they gave me what? X and a y. Yeah, they gave me an x and a y. So this is what I'm going to do. My y value is 4, my m value is 2, my x value is -1 plus b. I used y equals mx plus b, but I filled it in with the information they gave me. Okay? So 4 is equal to -2 plus b. I would say bless you, but you got over-blessed. So that's good though. And then we're going to move this -2 over. So I get b equals 6. Okay? So now I know what m is. Now I know what b is, so I can write my equation. Y equals 2x plus 6. But yes, bless you. I'll tell you. I don't want you to go home and say, Mr. V didn't say bless you. All right, are we okay with this one? So not hard, but not easy. You do have to know what you need, right? You need m, you need b. They gave me m, I don't have b. I could figure out the b value by using my slope and my point. And then I can find b. Once I have those two pieces, I can put it in my equation. All right? Again, if you guys are using highlighters or something like that, maybe you might want to do this, right? Saying, look, I use those two numbers. That's what I used to do my work. Okay? So it's up to you. You do you. You know how you learn. You know how you remember things. So whatever is easiest for you. All right. So we start to go a little bit more difficult, right? They say, okay, write an equation of a line that goes through 1, 2 and is parallel to y equals to 3x plus 6. Now, if they say that my new line has to be parallel, what does it have to have? Same slope. That's the key here, right? Because I know that m has to be 3. Because they said parallel. If they say perpendicular, what would my answer be? It's not 3. You flip it and it should be negative, right? So -1/3. So if it's perpendicular, you'd flip that slope and make it the other sign. So it'd become a -1/3. But for us, they said parallel, right? So now I know my slope and I know a point. So I'm basically at part A, what I just did, okay? Because I know x and y. I know m. I just don't know b. So let's write it out. Y is 2, m is 3, x is 1 plus b. So 2 is equal to 3 plus b, and this 3 goes over here. So we're going to get -1 is equal to b. So there you go. I got m, I got b. Let me write it down in my formula. Y equals 3x minus 1. And there you go. We got one more to do. And this is going to be like the toughest one. I personally think this is the hardest question or question type on day one, on Wednesday. Okay, this is the next one. Because the next one, they don't give you M, they don't give you B. Okay? But you can find M and B. They just don't give it to you. So we're approaching the 30-minute mark, so it might be about a 33-minute lesson or review today. So notice 33 minutes, and that's with the 52-minute period, right? Tomorrow we got 34 minutes. So guys, tomorrow show up on time and quick, because I'm going to start immediately, okay? Because we only got 34 minutes to do part B review, all right? So right now we're approaching 30 minutes. I'll make sure not to waste any time as much as I can. So we have to write an equation of a line that passes through the points 2, 4, and 6, 2. Anytime that you are given 2 points, immediately think slope formula, okay? Slope formula. So that's what I'm going to do right now. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'll put my x1, y1, x2, y2 information up there. So let's find the slope. So m is equal to y2 is 2 minus y1 is 4 over x2 is 6 minus x1 is 2. So 2 minus 4 is negative 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. So my slope is negative half. So now I have a slope, okay, negative half. But just like in the other two problems, I had a slope. I just never had a slope intercept. Sorry, the y-intercept, the b value. Okay? If I knew what b was, then I'm pretty much done. But I don't have the b value, so I'm going to do what I did in part A and part B. I'm going to get my slope, and then I'm going to use any one of these points, whichever one you want. I always like picking the smaller looking one, so I'm going to probably go 2, 4. But you can do 6, 2. It doesn't matter. Okay? And you'll find the b value. Okay, so I'm going to use, let's use this one right here, okay, 2, 4. So my y value is 4, so y equals m, that's half, negative half, times x, which is 2, plus b. So 4 is equal to, that's going to be a negative 1 plus b, because the 2's will cancel. So it's just negative 1 plus b. Add the 1. 5 is equal to b. Now I have m, now I have b, so I just need to write y equals mx plus b, right? So y is equal to negative half x plus 5. And that's it. So this is day 1, Wednesday. Okay, this is the test for Wednesday.